Bible in a Year, the Message Version, March 21. Numbers chapter 32, verse 1 through Numbers 33, verse 39. The families of Reuben and Gad had huge herds of livestock. They saw that the country of Jazer and Gilead was just the place for grazing livestock. And so they came, the families of Gad and Reuben, and spoke to Moses and Eleazar, the priest, and the leaders of the congregation, saying, Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Eli, Sebam, Nebo, and Beon. The country that God lay low before the community of Israel is a country just right for livestock, and we have livestock. They continued, If you think we've done a good job so far, give us this country for our inheritance. Don't make us go across the Jordan. Moses answered the families of Gad and Reuben, Do you mean that you're going to leave the fighting that's ahead to your brothers while you settle down here? Why would you even think of letting the people of Israel down? Demoralizing them, just as they're about to move into the land God gave them. That's exactly what your ancestors did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to survey the country. They went as far as the valley of Eshcol, then took one look and quit. They completely demoralized the people of Israel from entering the land God had given them. And God got angry. Oh, did he get angry? He swore, They'll never get to see it. None of those who came up out of Egypt who are 20 years and older will ever get to see the land that I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They weren't interested in following me. Their hearts weren't in it. None, except for Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Kenizite, and Joshua, son of Nun. They followed me. Their hearts were in it. God's anger smoked against Israel. He made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years until the entire generation that acted out evil in his sight had died out. And now, here you are, just one more mob of sinners stepping up to replace your ancestors, throwing fuel on the already blazing anger of God against Israel. If you won't follow him, he'll do it again. He'll dump them in the desert, and the disaster will be all your fault. They came close to him and said, All we want to do is build corrals for our livestock and towns for our families. Then we'll take up arms and take front lines, leading the people of Israel to their place. We'll be able to leave our families behind, secure in fortified towns, safe from those who live in the land. But we won't go back home until every Israelite is in full possession of his inheritance. We won't expect any inheritance west of the Jordan. We'll be claiming all our inheritance east of the Jordan. Moses said, If you do what you say, take up arms before God for battle, and together go across the Jordan ready before God to fight until God has cleaned his enemies out of the land, then, when the land is secure, you will have fulfilled your duty to God and Israel. Then, this land will be yours to keep before God. But if you don't do what you say, you will be sinning against God. You can be sure that your sin will track you down. So go ahead, build towns for your families and corrals for your livestock. Do what you said you'd do. The families of Gad and Reuben told Moses, We will do as our master commands. Our children and wives, our flocks and herds will stay behind here in the towns of Gilead. But we, every one of us, fully armed, will cross the river to fight for God, just as our master has said. So Moses issued orders for them. If the families of Gad and Reuben cross the river Jordan, and before God, all armed and ready to fight, then after the land is secure, you may give them the land of Gilead as their inheritance. But if you don't cross over with them, they'll have to settle up with you. priest Joshua son of Nun, and heads of the ancestral tribe in Canaan. The families of Gad and Reuben responded, "We will do what God has said. We will cross the Jordan before God, ready and willing to fight. But the land we inherited will be here to the east of the Jordan." Moses gave the families of Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land, its towns, and all the territories connected with them, the works. The Gadites rebuilt Dibon, Atroth, Aror, Atrah, Shiphan, Jazer, Jogbeha, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran as fortified cities. They also built corrals for their animals. The Reubenites rebuilt Heshbon, Elelah, and Kirathaim, also Nebo and Baal, Meon and Sibmah. They renamed the cities that they rebuilt. The families of Machir, son of Manasseh, went to Gilead, captured it, and drove out the Amorites who lived there. Moses then gave Gilead to the Machirites, the descendants of Manasseh. They moved in and settled there. Jair, another son of Manasseh, captured some villagers and named them Havroth Jair, Jair's tent camps. Nobah captured Kenath and its surrounding camps. He renamed it after himself, Nobah. These are the camping sites in the journey of the people of Israel after they left Egypt, deployed military under the command of Moses and Aaron. Under God's instruction, Moses kept a log of every time they moved, camp by camp. They marched out as Ramesses the day after the Passover. It was the 15th day of the first month. They marched out, heads held high and confident, the Egyptians busy burying their firstborns whom God had killed. Watch them go. God had exposed the nonsense of their gods. The people of Israel left Ramesses and camped at Succoth, left Succoth and camped at Etham, at the edge of the wilderness, left Etham and circled back to Pi Haroth, east of Baal Zephon, and camped near Migdal, left Pi Hameroth and crossed through the sea into the wilderness. 3 days into the wilderness of Etham, they camped at Marah, left Murrah and camped at Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there, left Elim and camped at the Red Sea, left the Red Sea and camped in the wilderness of Sin, left the wilderness of Sin and camped at Dophkah, left Dophkah and camped at Olush, left Olush and camped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink, left Rephidim and camped in the wilderness of Sinai, left the wilderness of Sinai and camped at Kibroth Hathava, left Kibroth Hathava and camped at Hazeroth, left Hazeroth and camped at Rithmah, left Rithmah and camped at Rimmon Perez, left Rimmon Perez and camped at Libnah, left Libnah and camped at Rissah, left Rissah and camped at Calatha, left Calatha and camped at Mount Shepher, left Mount Shepher and camped at Harada, left Harada and camped at Mekahethah, left Mekathoth and camped at Tabhath, left Tabhath and camped at Turah, left Turah and camped at Mithkah, left Mithkah, and camped at Hashmanah, left Hashmanah, and camped at Moseroth, left Moseroth, and camped at Beni Jaakan, left Beni Jaakan, and camped at Hor Haggad, left Hor Haggad, and camped at Jotbatha, left Jotbatha, and camped at Abranah, left Abranah, and camped at Ezion Geber, left Ezion Geber, and camped at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. After they left Kadesh and camped at the Mount of Hor, at the border of Edmon, Aaron the priest climbed Mount Hor at God's command and died there. It was the first day of the 5th month in the 14th year after the people of Israel had left Egypt. Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. Luke chapter 4, verse 31 through chapter 5, verse 11. He, Jesus, went down to Capernaum, a village in Galilee. He was teaching the people on Sabbath. They were surprised and impressed. His teachings were so forthright, so confident, so authoritative, not the quibbling and quoting they were used to. In the meeting place, that there was a man demonically disturbed. He screamed, "Stop! What business do you have here with us, Jesus, Nazarene? I know what you're up to. You're the Holy One of God, and you've come to destroy us." Jesus shut him up. "Quiet! Get out of him!" The demonic spirit threw the man down in front of them and left. The demon didn't hurt him. That knocked the wind out of everyone and got them whispering and wondering, what's going on here? Someone whose words makes things happen? Someone who orders demonic spirits to get out and they go? Jesus was the talk of the town. He left the meeting place and went to Simon's house. Simon's mother-in-law was running a high fever, and they asked him to do something for her. He stood over her, told the fever to leave, and it left. Before they knew it, she was up, getting dinner for them. When the sun went down, everyone who had anyone sick with some ailment or other brought them to him. One by one, he placed his hands on them and healed them. Demons left in droves, screaming, "Son of Man, you're the Son of God!" But he shut them up, refusing to let them speak because they knew too much, knew him to be the Messiah. He left the next day for open country, but the crowds went looking, and, when they found him, clung to him so that he couldn't go on. He told them, "Don't you realize that there aren't yet other villages that have the message of God and his kingdom? I have to tell them. This is the work God sent me to do." Meanwhile, he continued preaching in the meeting places of Galilee. Once, when he was standing on the shore of Lake Gennesaret, the crowd was pushing in on him to better hear the word of God. He noticed 2 boats tied up. The fishermen had just left them and were out scrubbing their nets. He climbed into the boat that was Simon's and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Sitting there, using the boat for a pulpit, he taught the crowd. When he finished teaching, he said to Simon, "Push out into deep water and let your nets out for a catch." Simon said, "Master, we've been fishing hard all night and haven't caught even a minnow. But if you say so, I'll let out the nets." It was no sooner said than done. A huge haul of fish, straining the nets past capacity. They waved to their partners in the other boat to come help. They filled both boats, nearly swamping them with their catch. Simon Peter, when he saw it, fell to his knees before Jesus. "Master, leave. I'm a sinner. I can't handle this holiness. Leave me to myself. When they pulled in that catch of fish, awe overwhelmed Simon and everyone with him. It was the same with James and John, Zebedee's sons, co-workers with Simon. Jesus said to Simon, "There is nothing to fear. From now on, you'll be fishing for men and women." They pulled their boats up on the beach, left them, nets and all, and followed him. Psalm chapter 64, verse 1 through verse 10. A David psalm. Listen and help, O God. I'm reduced to a whine and a whimper, obsessed with feelings of doomsday. Don't let them find me, the conspirators out to get me, using their tongues as weapons, flinging poison words, poison-tipped arrow words. They shoot from ambush, shoot without warning, not caring who they hit. They keep fit, doing calisthenics of evil purpose. They keep lists of the traps they're secretly set. They say to each other, "No one can catch us. No one can detect our perfect crime." The detective detects the mystery in the dark of the cellar heart. The god of the arrow shoots. They double up in pain, fall flat on their faces, in full view of the grinning crowd. Everyone sees it. God's work is the talk of the town. Be glad, good people. Fly to God. Good-hearted people, make praise your habit. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 22. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful face on an empty head. This was a daily reading from the Message version of the Bible, brought to you by Bible in a Year.